On this day, 30 years ago, the Oslo Accords were signed between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization. The agreements were seen as a major turning point in the conflict because it was the first time that Israel and the PLO had formally recognized one another. This image became iconic, taken on the 13th of September 1993. PLO chairman Yasser Arafat and Israel's then Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin shook hands on the White House lawn, overseen by the then President Bill Clinton. The Oslo Accords were a series of agreements signed between 1993 and 1999 that aimed to see Israel withdraw from the territories it occupied during the June 1967 war, including the West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza. And so most Palestinians believed that the Accords would create an independent Palestinian state in the occupied territories alongside Israel. But that never happened. Over the next 3 decades, Israel accelerated its expansion of illegal settlements, increased restrictions on the movements of Palestinians within the occupied territories, and built a separation wall. As well as imposing a siege on the Gaza Strip through a land, air and sea blockade, 3 decades on, the Oslo Accords are seen to have only served to cement Israel's occupation. Laura Khan begins our coverage from the occupied West Bank.
I'm in the Palestinian town of Aram. Behind me, this 8-metre-high wall extends for 712 kilometres, cutting off Palestinian communities and isolating occupied East Jerusalem. Israel controls both sides of that divide. Here in the occupied West Bank, Palestinians are also separated by Israeli roads, illegal settlements and checkpoints. When the Oslo Agreement was signed in 1993, this wall didn't exist, and neither did the checkpoints.
We don't have continuous territorial, a landscape in order to think about two-state solutions. What we have, in fact, is one state in control, but two regimes. It is apartheid.
This is Ramallah. It was supposed to be the temporary seat for the Palestinian Authority, and it has signs that resemble statehood everywhere.
The Palestinian community only sees the negative effects of Oslo. After 30 years, the Palestinian Authority failed to establish a state, liberate the land or build state institutions.
In a recent poll, 68% of Palestinians said Oslo harmed their interests. 71% said it was wrong for the Palestine Liberation Organization to sign the agreement. So less than 5 minutes from the Palestinian president's headquarters is the illegal Israeli settlement of Bethlehem. So this houses the Israeli civil administration, which governs Palestinians under occupation. 2 hours north is the city of Jenin, which has become a major flashpoint. I'm now in Jenin refugee camp, much of which was destroyed in a 2-day Israeli assault in July. Drone strikes and armoured bulldozers levelled many of these streets. Some Palestinians inside are fighting the occupation. So how do they feel about their situation 30 years from the Oslo Agreement?
The occupation raids wherever they want and commit whatever crimes they want. The last assault was on Jenin when they carried out a massacre. This is a shameful agreement because what is taken by force is only returned by force.
So many Palestinians say they've been left disillusioned as the promise of a state slips further away. Laura Khan, Al Jazeera, the occupied West Bank.
Nida Ibrahim is our correspondent in Bethlehem, overlooking the illegal Israeli settlement of Har Homa. Nida, it can be said, I think, that even though it is an anniversary, no one's really celebrating.
On the contrary, people are reminded of the era that they had some hope in 30 years ago, that there could potentially be a Palestinian state. But now, as we're seeing it, we're looking at the manifestations of the Israeli occupation and basically the reason why there wouldn't be a contiguous Palestinian state. This is the illegal settlement of Har Homa. It houses only Israelis. It was built on Palestinian lands here in Bethlehem. It serves as an obstacle, basically cutting off and isolating occupied East Jerusalem from occupied Bethlehem. Basically, you can see the facilities, the structures, the buildings. And let's not forget that the lands here were appropriated by the Israeli government in the early 90s, which is just 2 years before the Oslo Accords were signed. So that tells you how much there were plans by the Israeli governments to keep expanding illegal Israeli settlements. And we're talking now about more than 750,000 Israeli settlers residing illegally in the occupied West Bank, taking up resources, streets, and most importantly, lands and the dreams of Palestinians to have a state. We've been talking to Palestinians here in the occupied West Bank, and let's listen in to what they had to say.
This is a fully fledged occupation. They enter whichever city they want and do whatever they want.
If the world pressures Israel into a peace process, it will move forward.
Israel just bought time to solidify the occupation.
Under the circumstances, there's no way for a two-state.
We're going for a confrontation. If after more than 70 years there wasn't peace, forget that it'll happen.
There's no space left. They didn't leave us anything in Palestine. They took all the land.
What did you say? A Palestinian state? What do you want me to say? Where? Where? If they raid every night and take what they want?
So there was nothing in the Oslo Accords that committed Israel to stop the illegal settlement expansion, which is why we're talking about a majority of Palestinians, 70% of them who think that Oslo hurt the Palestinian interest and that they believe that it was wrong of the PLO to sign that agreement.
Nida Ibrahim in Bethlehem, thank you.